Okay, so Pritam, being a Kundalini Yoga teacher as well as trainer, you've been in this field now for how many years?
Like 40.
What have you seen in and observing others? More observing those who are partaking in a yoga practice, any yoga. It doesn't have to just be Kundalini. As well as those who are now wanting to dedicate a part of themselves to this way, perhaps by becoming a teacher. What have you seen are the greatest struggles for individuals on this path?
Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, so we're doing an art that's kind of age old and that's very specific, and we don't actually know how deep and profound it is. So we could be more casual or less appreciative of it. So we don't know how deeply it's affecting us. And on the flip side, we might get overwhelmed with detail. So it could be both. So ultimately the process of doing anything, be it martial arts or exercise or even a hobby or anything, is a process of distillation. So you know more of what is beneficial for you. And when you know what's beneficial for you, you might be able to gauge what's beneficial for another. So let's say a yoga practitioner needs to know what works for her or him. And a yoga teacher needs to also know what's going to work for the other person in the space and be able to select that. So not everything is good for everybody, but something is good for any person. So it's a criteria of being flooded or overwhelmed with information and not being able to see the forest for the trees or the trees for the forest. And the other part is that you are able to identify and distill and say, this works for me, and consequently I can gauge what may work for you. And that then becomes, beneficial for self, beneficial for others, like good self-maintenance and good service and friendship to others, which is a wonderful thing, because this is how we want to live. We want to help each other and, be more of a human family and be more connected.
Of course.
Okay, so you could be underwhelmed, overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But you have to persevere enough to find your own way. Yeah.
And from a very physical perspective, perhaps somebody who's maybe engaging more so every day now with yoga, with any exercise, it's doing training of some form, and that's increasing, and now they are feeling the effects of that. What would you say to them in terms of using meridians and meridian support in exercise for the physical body?
What's beneficial there is that we will develop the language to communicate that, because it's one thing to feel it and to appreciate it. It's another thing to have the language to actually convey it. So vitally important. Okay, so the way you do that, Helen, is that you bring it down to brass tacks, and you bring it down to something it can really be followed and implemented. It's very good the way you do that. You make it very accessible. And it is an important interface to do that, because when you experience that it's beneficial, then you want to be able to communicate it. It doesn't matter. You might be a gym instructor. You want to be able to say, do this in order to allow the energy to flow better. Yeah.
So it's connecting,
finding language.
Yeah, I'm feeling as well that it's a mind-body connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is often a silent thing, but
yes,
when we have words and language and expression for it, boom, okay, hits the target, meets the target. Yeah,
absolutely.
Delivers, okay,
Yes.
Connects.
Yes. So. And this is precisely what is a dual takeaway in the Meridian Deep Dive course, especially then after the theory, you come in with the exercise and integrate that physically, so people can feel that immediately and experience it, as opposed to just experiencing the very literal running of a meridian as a line and thinking about it very much left brain. You now, it's like ingraining it into the cellular system.
Yeah, doing the asana and it happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, beautiful.
I mean,
So that's a beautiful confirmation that there's so many ways to work with the meridian. In other words, to work with one's holistic health, because that's essentially at the end of the day what the meridian work is.
Yeah.
Meridian play is.
Yeah. Yeah, self-care.
Yeah.
Very competent, very informed, very subtle self-care. Yeah. And I appreciate that you as a practitioner reach out with that and teach that, that self-help.
Yeah.
Notice.
Yeah. Yeah. Very important to be empowered, especially in the times where
we live in.
Yes, and times when we feel like we've been swept off our feet and we don't have an opportunity to go see somebody to tell us, what we need to do or what is the situation, but to have some tools, even if it's just for a stepping stone before you can go to see somebody. It's really freeing.